Hey everyone, for this week's video we are doing another bite-sized guide, this time on how to fly the Bf-110. This video is intended to be bite-sized and give some really quick directional advice on how to approach this plane. The lessons in here may not apply to every single dogfight, but this is supposed to act as directional advice to give you a good foundation. If this is your first time here, this channel focuses on multiplayer and gameplay, so if you're into that, please subscribe. In general, the 110 is a pretty quirky plane, and I have been a fan of it for a long time across both World War II Online and IL-2. On one hand, it packs a huge punch, carries more ammo than you will ever need, and it offers a lot of style points. On the other hand, it's slow, it can't maneuver too much, and you are a big target. It's really easy to get overwhelmed with this plane, and best case is you will only get a few chances in a fight, and you have to capitalize on them in order to succeed. We're going to set the table to talk about matchups in a broad sense, but we will transition later in the video and get very specific with some actionable tips, and I just want to highlight that. I strive to try to make this information as actionable as possible. This isn't all theoretical, and all the examples here are against live opponents. But before we get super into the specifics, we have to set the table. In general, everyone is going to outperform you, and that's fine. This plane can shine because it can slow itself down very quickly. So this means you can get people to overshoot. You can also hang your nose up longer than what is probably possible in real life, and you have good nose authority. You win fights by having people blow past you, getting nose on target, and then blowing them away or severely crippling them. I don't fly this plane aggressively on the onset. I do fly a bit conservative, but there are moments where you do need to cash your chips in to get your nose on target to make a shot happen. In general, the opponents that can slow themselves down very quickly and have a low stall speed are very dangerous to you. In practice, this means a Hurricane and an IL-2. If you get stuck with a Hurricane or an IL-2 right behind you and his speed is matching yours, then you're basically doomed. Here are my stats from the Finnish server on the 110G and the 110E, and look at how many deaths I have to IL-2s in comparison to more modern and maneuverable planes. This plane can turn better than you would expect, and it can slow itself down incredibly fast because of how large it is. This means that you can do overshoots quite easily on really fast opponents. Now let's go through some examples to apply the theory in the wild. So in this example, I'm in a 110 carrying bombs, and I'm getting bounced not far from my airfield. First things first, I let people know and that I need help because I want to have an insurance that if I can keep this fight going long enough, I'll get help. This guy has a pretty decent altitude advantage on me, and he's diving toward me. And what I do here is I start a slow and gradual dive, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get him to become as fast as possible because I know that the 110 can slow itself down very easily, and I'm making sure he's trying to go. I'm trying to give him as much speed as possible because I want him to extend his dive. And as he comes in close to guns, I do a really hard turn. The 110 has one good turn in it, and it slows myself down, and he's going to shoot right past me. And this is a key moment where he either will decide to climb away or he comes right at me. And in order not to get hit, I turn up into him because the 110 kind of has like a UFO characteristic where it can hang its nose up. And basically I've dodged 2 attacks. And I'm trying to build up some speed again. He's shot way past in front of me. And here's what I mentioned before. He is starting to climb away, and I now have a chance to shoot. And this thing has a lot of ammo and really good guns that are on the nose, so it's pretty easy to aim. So that's a very dangerous position for him to be in. And I'm just trying to keep behind him again, a flare to come out, trying to make insurance policies. I was on Discord comms with people, and I looked at the map and told people on Discord, hey, can you let people know that I need help here? So trying to buy time, but look at try to keep an eye on the nose position on this fight. I'm like really trying to give everything I can to keep the nose on him. And I actually I think I plinked him earlier because he ends up crashing right here. So that's a maneuver kill. But that initial maneuver of giving them speed and kind of roping them in to do a big turn and then come up around the top is kind of what I almost always do in the 110, and that's in this sort of scenario. It's a really easy defensive maneuver, and if you have decent gunnery, you can just get people to shoot way past you. You use your nose authority, hang it up, and then you can peg them really well. So in the second example, I have my RWR, aka Hans, lets me know I'm getting dove in on. Again, same thing as before, slow, gradual dive. I don't have as much altitude as before. And as he's getting close to guns, he's shooting, then I start really cranking it in, and then I start to bring in the vertical in, and then he is going to go slip out right past me. Now, there were a lot of different things going on in this fight. As you can see, I already have taken damage from earlier in this fight, so I'm not aggressively kind of going at him to try to get my guns on him because I need to keep my eyes open. I don't want to hang it up. And there's the P40 again. Someone takes a swipe at me, but they miss. So this P40, he's going to pull it up in front of me. And just notice like how stable the 110 is as a firing platform. These aren't the greatest shots, but it's enough to freak him out. And we're going to talk about speed here because you're going to notice that the P40 here starts to drop his flaps, and I wasn't sure, I'm not really sure what he's doing. Maybe he's thinking I can overshoot, or maybe he was trying to get the 190 overshoot, but I dropped my flaps. I'm around 50% flaps and 70% throttle, and I'm basically just parked behind him. And as soon as you're behind them and things get slow, there's nowhere that they're going. It's a really stable firing platform, and at low speeds with some flaps, you're not going to stall and you're not going to crash. Like this plane just seems to be able to hang it up way longer than it probably should. So going into the next example, I want to talk about, we talked about low speeds, but what if the enemy is much faster than you? What can you do? So this guy doesn't know I'm here and I want to kill him. So what I do is I start spraying at him, and because you have a lot of ammo, you can get people to become slower without hitting them, basically just by freaking them out and making them panic. So I sprayed a whole bunch at him, and it made him break, and which got me into range. And I make a mistake here. I thought he crashed. That was actually another friendly plane, so I totally mismanaged my maneuver here. And I just wanted to show you this example because this is what happens when you get caught mid-maneuver, like you're going to get slammed. So keep that in mind. And I get bailed up by a friendly here. So the lesson there is you can use ammo to get people to break, and two, you need to have friendlies nearby. The 110 is an awesome plane to fly, but if you're flying alone, it really sucks because once you get someone behind you and you're both kind of at the same speed, you're kind of in hot water. In this example, what I wanted to show is me getting hit here. And this is going to be talking about what happens when you go against a smart opponent. So notice how I don't really try to do any maneuvering here to get him to overshoot. This guy hit me. I decided I'm going to run. I'm going to briefly look at my map in a second because I think my plan was to ditch it in friendly territory. So I'm looking behind me, and look, he's right off my right wing, and he's doing this is a very smart opponent because basically he's trying to match speed. He's coming at an angle where my tail gunner can't hit him, and he's just parking himself behind me, and there's basically nothing I can do. I wasn't really expecting to do this. I mean, I should have maneuvered to do something, but I pretty much was doomed. Now that we've talked about overshoots, I want to talk about getting the nose on target. So this guy just beat up our 111. The 111's Hans hit him pretty good. I'm coming over the top, and the reason why I do that is because as you get speed with the 110, you can trade that for nose position. So you get altitude, you turn that into speed, and then that gives you more essentially AOA. And notice how I'm prioritizing just getting the nose on target to land a hit. It's very... It's kind of like a gambler's mindset. Like you're cashing your checks in to get your nose on target to get a hit or two, but because you carry so much firepower, only a hit or two is enough with the 20 mils to basically disable the opponent where they're not able to maneuver as well, and then you can just finish them off. So don't be scared to really put your nose on target and just to keep shooting until you hit them. Now in this example, we're going to talk about using ammo liberally to get people to break, and also to talk about nose position again. So this guy's pretty quick. I'm diving in and I am catching up to him. And right about maybe here is when I probably should have started shooting, because you carry so much ammo. Or maybe even here would be a good position. What ends up happening is I wait too long, and this guy does see me, and he breaks. And I did a terrible job here. I should have been looking up higher in the gun sight. You have very few opportunities to land hits in this plane, so you kind of need to hit them. Again, coming around over the top, keeping myself behind him, and just putting the pressure on him. Like once they're in range, they're not allowed to leave, and if they are starting to leave your range, you just keep dumping into them to freak them out to break. This example, we're talking about head-on merges. This is something that I like to do. So I see this guy coming, I immediately put it into emergency power, and the reason for that is I want to get as much altitude as possible. I see that he's much lower than me, and I thought he saw me here, so my plan is to kind of hang him up. It's a hurricane, and I come down on him, and this is a fairly simple balance. This guy was asleep, but the takeaway on this one is that altitude is very useful in this plane, because if you get caught low and you don't have enough space to start a gradual dive to make your opponents have a lot more speed than you, it becomes really hard to overshoot. If you don't have altitude, it's really hard to get these easy bounces, because you just don't have the position on them. You're not fast enough, so you really have to keep that in mind. And like you can see here, after just a couple of hits, this guy's pretty much disabled. I mean, this plane's wobbling all over the place. And you see Hans is announcing the target's destroyed, which is a really useful thing. Hans is great because, one, he basically acts as an RWR. He'll let you know if things are behind you, and he'll also let you know when things are dead. So you could pound a plane, and as soon as you kill the pilot, Hans will announce it, which lets you know when to break. It's not like in a 109 or like a solo single seat plane where you're shooting at someone and they go dead stick, and you're like, is he faking it or is he really dead or not? Like, you just don't know. But Hans always knows. It's kind of really gamey, but whatever, I can't do anything about it. It's just the game that we play, to keep that in mind. The last thing I want to mention is I want to talk about the ammo reloading. So the 110E has a very special thing that I don't think any other German planes have, or that I can think of, is that you have to reload your ammo. So this is a fresh 110E, and the round started at 80. Now it's down to 20. And I'm going to go ahead and reload the guns. And as it's reloading, we'll see what happens. The red light means it's reloaded. Left gun's reloaded. Right gun's still being reloaded. And I start shooting, and you can see the left gun shooting. And then the right catches up. So based on these numbers, you'll know if you're getting close to the end of your box. So in between fights, it's probably not a bad idea to clear out your rounds and reload the gun, because you don't have unlimited opportunities in fights, and you don't want to be in a situation where you only hit with machine guns. So in review, the plane is fun and you can do well with it. Altitude can be turned into speed, which can then be turned into AOA to get your nose on target. If you get someone behind you, the first thing is to get him to shoot past you, and then you immediately go for guns. If you aren't able to do that, go work him down to a situation where things get slow, and you should be able to rely on your floaty UFO behavior, where you never stall. This plane smashes things when you connect, and it is a nice challenge to try. This video was longer than I originally intended, but I found myself finding a lot of good examples, and I still feel like I covered about half of what I wanted to do. I would recommend checking out my other 110 compilation, which is linked above, to get a few more examples. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you.